Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Kelly Rembert. I'm the Outreach Librarian at the Southfield Public Library, and I'm so thrilled to have you joining us tonight for Black Dolls Matter. This program, we're going live here on Zoom now, and we'll also be posting this up onto YouTube and the library's social media. If you haven't already, come to the library. The Black Dolls Matter exhibit is up through the end of February 2022, so you got another week to come out and see it because it's incredible. Not only do we have that, we also have Telling a People's Story, all about African-American children's book illustrators, up in the circulation lobby through the end of the month. But we are here to talk about Black Dolls Matter tonight, and I'm thrilled to have with us a number of doll makers, doll collectors, doll enthusiasts. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off. I'm going to share my screen and show you just a little quick 4-minute video about Black dolls and sort of their histories to kind of set the stage here. So bear with me as I share my screen here and then switch it over to the tab that I want here. Not this one. Here we go.
We went to sleep hoping Santa leaves them a brand new doll for Christmas.
Americans spent more than $3 billion for dolls last year, according to the Toy Association. For years, a certain type of doll was very hard to come by in stores. WMC Action News 5's Kelly Cook found the fruits of her own mother's labor just in time for Christmas.
Inside my parents' attic, bag of Christmas treasures from long ago. Okay, so this is sort of a bag of my childhood that was nearly thrown away. A bag of dolls that added up to hours of fun.
Sorry, huh?
When I was a kid. So what's so special about these dolls? Well, they're all black. And as any kid growing up in the 80s would tell you, that's pretty rare.
In the 80s, my mother tells me the story of her and her girlfriends trying to find these black dolls for their daughters. Well, as a child, they really were not available that often. So even if you did happen to be in a store and you saw some black dolls, there were maybe 3. Or if a store even had them, they got sold out very quickly. The black Cabbage Patch dolls, that was a big deal. And she got it for me. I didn't know at the time, being young, but when she talks about it now, I realized she really had to do some work.
The search for black dolls has a long history in this country, dating back to the Reconstruction era. In 1909, a black Nashville business owner named Richard Henry Boyd started the National Negro Doll Company. According to the Tennessee National Historical Society, the company wanted to fight the racist imagery of blacks post-slavery, giving little girls a true reflection of themselves. The company closed in 1915. But the first truly successful mass-produced black doll came more than 50 years later. Her name was Baby Nancy, produced by the Black California company, Shindana Toys.
They had tremendous success, one, on producing a doll that Black parents and Black children could see themselves in and felt authentic, but also the factory itself was really important in the success of this doll.
Black doll and cultural historian Yolanda Hester says Shindana Toys was born out of the aftermath of the Watts riots in Los Angeles. The founders of the not-for-profit Black organization Bootstrap created a toy factory. Baby Nancy was his first of many toys, gaining recognition for being one of the first ethnically correct black dolls. Not a white doll painted black. She had an afro with dark skin and full lips. By Christmas of 1968, Baby Nancy was the best-selling doll in Los Angeles and was selling nationwide.
Just the work that they did really changed the toy industry and how the toy industry thought about producing and marketing and promoting, ethnic products.
Many of the major toy companies took notice and began to produce their own black dolls after the success of Shindana Toys. For some reason, I remember her name was Keisha. I don't know why. But Hester said companies like Shindana struggled with distribution. Getting black dolls placed in stores outside of the black community was difficult. Decades after Shindana closed their doors in 1983, Black dolls are as popular as ever. In 2020, out of the 8 finalists for Doll of the Year from the Toy Association, 3 are specifically multicultural or Black dolls. All dolls Angela Meekins hopes the preschoolers and foster children from Port Elite will get for Christmas this year.
Every year for the past 13 years, I've made a plea for people to, when you give toys, when you consider giving a doll to a child what the doll may look like.
Through this year's toy drive, over 6,000 children in the greater Memphis area will receive gifts. Meekins says most of those kids are Black or Latino, and multicultural toys teaches them self-esteem.
So I just think that this is an amazing gift to give a child, for them to see themselves in that doll, see their hair, see their skin complexion, and to build that self-esteem at a young age.
It's amazing what a doll can do, and explains why so many fought to make sure when kids woke up Christmas morning, they had something under the tree that looked like them too. Kelly Cook, WMC Action, News 5.
Okay, well, that was a wonderful overview on the history of Black dolls. Now it is my pleasure to turn it over, the program, to Sandra Epps. Sandra is a doll enthusiast. She is the owner of the company Sandylands, and she has done the Black Doll Expo. So join me in welcoming Sandra.
Hi, everyone. How y'all doing this evening? It is my pleasure to be here with you. Yes, I am the owner of Sandy's Land, LLC, where we party with a purpose. And one of the things that we do, we host the Detroit Doll Show, which is the largest Black doll show in the nation. And we've been doing it since 2011. And Touch of Blue has been a part of our doll show in 2019. That was the last show that we did, where we had over 44 vendors. That was the most vendors we had. We had it at the Northwest Activity Center. A lot of the vendors sold out of product, which was really, really wonderful. So the reason why I actually started the Detroit Doll Show was just like in most of these documents that you would see or continue to see, is because of representation. Although we have come a long way in terms of seeing more dolls in the doll store, as a doll store, but still we deal with not enough representation. Even in my neighborhood where I live, over on in the 6 Mile and Myers area, over in the CVS store, every year they still will have mainly Caucasian dolls in the store versus having 50-50. And this is a predominantly Black neighborhood. So I had to talk with the manager again this year, or last year, in terms of making sure that there was more representation of Black dolls in the stores, because we want all people, and especially children, to see representation, which is Black dolls. So is Maureen, will she have questions, or how are we doing this? Should I continue to go on? Because I can start talking about all of the dolls here that I have behind me. Are dolls that are made by doll makers or designers, and a majority of them, I would say, they are individuals who participate with the Detroit Doll Show.
Yeah, can you give us a little overview of some of the local Detroit dolls and national Detroit dolls?
Well, in terms of, you mean doll makers?
Yeah, doll makers, or what's behind you? Give us a little show and tell here. This is a wonderful setup behind you.
Now, a little bit of Barbie history, and I know we have some people on here that's going to talk a little bit about the Barbie doll, but Kitty Black Perkins was one of the first African Americans to design the Black doll line for Mattel, and she was actually a fashion designer. And so one of the dolls that pay tribute to that is this one here, and this is the first Black Barbie. Now, they had a Barbie before then, Christie, but this was the one where they named Black Barbie, and she did the designing of her garment, and this was celebrating the 30th anniversary of Barbie. So it says Black Barbie. She's Black, she's beautiful, she's dynamic. Now that's to discuss Kitty Black Perkins. And another doll that she designed was the Brandy doll. So many of you know Brandy, the singer Brandy. She designed that particular doll, and she designed MC Hammer. So those are dolls that some of us can identify with. If you were born in the 80s or 90s, you can identify with them. The second doll designer who worked for Mattel, now Kitty, she worked for Mattel for about 26 years. And the second person was by the name of Stacy Mcbride Irby. And she worked with Mattel over 10 years, and African-American woman. And she designed the first line of Barbie dolls that had features, Black features. And the doll line was So In Style. So that was SOS. And very popular line of dolls that had thicker lips and noses to reflect African American. So one of her dolls, she went on to do several other designing of dolls, of course, but this is one of the latest ones she brought to the Detroit Doll Show, because we gave her the Doll Legacy Award in 2017. So this is the Cynthia Bailey Pretty Girls Collector's doll. This is a part of her doll line, Stacy Mcbride Irby, who once worked for Mattel. Let's see. Okay, and so in that clip that you showed, you see this particular doll line, doll brand. So this is the Fresh Dolls, and this is Dr. Lisa Williams. She actually designed the Positively Perfect dolls, and they were the first line that was featured in Walmart stores. So, and they were more of the baby doll, the thicker, kind of, look more like babies. So after doing that line, several lines of, that one line with a number of dolls of multicultural, they were different, like Hispanic and things of that nature. She then came up with her Barbie size dolls, which is called the Fresh. Yes, and so I'm trying to think of the Proud Family, the cartoon character. She actually designed that doll for that particular brand too. Let's see.
Can we move on to some other people too?
Yeah, so we're moving on.
Okay,
So,
good. One more, and then because we have a few others we want to get. We even have a guy who designs robot dolls.
Yeah, I didn't know how you were doing this, so
I know. I kind of. Anyways, I think you've shown us 3 really fabulous dolls, Sandra. Just fabulous dolls.
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
We have Sherrie Savage, who has just these beautiful dolls that she's kept in their wraps, and which is an interesting thing, that question of, do you keep them in the wraps or do you let them out and play with them? So Sherrie.
Hi, I'm Sherrie.
Sherrie, thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so just a little history about me. I was a very spoiled young girl. Matter of fact, I see my parents are online right now, so I'm sure they'll be glad to chime in to agree with me. And every year, I would just get a slew of Barbies. Again, I really didn't have too many Black Barbie dolls growing up, and they weren't really available. And this was in late 80s, early 90s, still not much representation out there for me. When I became of some age, so, preteen into teenage years, instead of me playing with the Barbie dolls, I started to collect them, collecting them more for, one, just, a representation of my childhood, of what I loved to do as a child, and that was playing with my Barbie dolls. And then 2, really to possibly pass it down to, my children. And I know that with that, there's going to be some value in them. So yes, I keep my dolls in the box. There's only maybe a couple of dolls that I have outside of the box because I was using those dolls to bake cakes. So, but I made sure that I bought duplicates of those dolls so they could stay in their box. So yeah, so I'm just a doll collector, and as I'm starting to collect Barbie dolls, I have about maybe 100 now, and some of them are still like in boxes. I actually need to create more shelving. Dad, if you listen to me, I need you to come over here and build me some shelves, please. So I can display them into my library. Right now, my library is a mix of my Barbie dolls and books. So my Barbie dolls are really starting to take over. And you know, with me growing up, now that there are more Barbies that look like me, I started to collect more Black Barbie dolls. Not to say that I do not collect dolls of other ethnicities, but most of my dolls are Black. And I do want one thing that I really want to share that I'm very, very happy about as we're talking about Black History Month. And Kitty Perkins, I somehow came across on eBay the original Black doll in her box with the price tag. So she is still wrapped. So excuse me, and yeah, cellophane on top of here, and you might not be able to see the price, but it actually has like the original price tag. But this is like the original box. Okay, so I have this. So this is something I'm very proud of, very happy about. And I also have the 40th anniversary one. So
Yes.
so
Wonderful.
yeah, that really made my heart good up. And honestly, they didn't sell it for that much, which was crazy. But I feel like I got a steal for this. But
that's a true collector.
Yes.
Now we're going to move on. I appreciate your congratulations for getting these excellent dolls. Coletta.
Hello, can you hear me?
I love your story about your grandmother in Mississippi.
Oh, okay. By way of introduction, I am Coletta, the face and hands behind A Touch of Blue Designs. My primary focus is making Black and brown dolls for Black and brown girls and boys. I told Maureen when we first met of my grandmother used to make me Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls when I was little. I was completely obsessed with them. I don't know why, but I absolutely loved them. And she would make me one every year, and I would drag this thing through the red clay mud until they turned to rags. And so every year she would make me one until we moved, and my mother finally in the 80s somehow found a dark brown Cabbage Patch doll that I loved. And once I finally stopped playing with dolls and, you know, had kids of my own, my daughters weren't really into dolls. But the other little girls that they would play with were into dolls. And I always did find it still kind of hard for, it was hard for me to still kind of find brown and Black dolls for them to play with. But that was always first and foremost in my mind. If I'm gifting another little brown girl a doll, this doll has to somehow look like her. When I first started making dolls, I've been crocheting for 7 years now. I've been a doll maker for 6 of those years. And it was always been my intention at the forefront of my business to create dolls for little children, for girls and boys of color. And, you know, the occasional adult that still wants a doll, because I'm actually made myself a doll in January. So we all have that little piece of us that still, you know, wants that representation, that needs that representation. And I am of the mindset that as a child of color or as a mixed child of color, if you're in that family, you would like things of not only yourself, of your culture and your family makeup. Generally, a doll depends on, I think that was one of the questions. A doll takes about, depending on the size, I can get a doll done within about 2 weeks. But also it depends on the hairstyle. I try to incorporate a lot of natural hairstyles into my designs. Afro puffs are really big. As a little Black girl, everybody had Afro puffs, either Afro puffs and beads and braids. And so I try to, especially when making dolls for little girls, Afro puffs are always huge. Although lately I've been making a lot of dolls with dreadlocks. So
Oh, wonderful.
Very
Um,
good.
Wonderful. And we're going to get to Alan, who's great, but I want to tell you, Tim Burke has joined in, and Tim makes giant black dolls out of metal, out of cast off metal. He has an, Tim, are you there? Oh, I guess he walked away. We'll get him later. Alan, oh, here you are, Tim. I was saying you make giant black dolls out of found objects.
Well, they're, I'm sorry, but they're not dolls. They're sculptures. They're 8 foot tall. The ones behind me, these are crazy cats. I'm not opposed to making dolls. I joined in to be better informed about doll making. Carla had sent me a email about this, or a text about this happening tonight, and I was really curious. And I also thought that possibly my good friend Marcia Philpott, I thought maybe she would be on here. She's a doll maker as well. So anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yes, she makes some of the most incredible dolls. She's been making dolls 30 years at least.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have, anyway, I make these crazy cats. I'll turn this around also. There's another little crazy cat across the room that I made this one for my daughter. And I use, yeah, you were correct. I do use material from buildings that are being torn down. So I call it treasure hunting. So, and it's all about Detroit. I get all my pieces from Detroit. Excuse me, I'm burning the toast. Sorry. Anyway, I'm glad to be able to listen tonight. And I don't know what popped in my head also, though, was to confirm that we need diversity. We need black dolls. Because what saddened me one time, I'm not sure if everybody here has seen that video of the young black girl who was playing with a white doll and was taught about, well, how do I say, and I can't remember the entire context of what took place. Basically,
you talking about the doll experiment?
I'm sorry.
Could you repeat
You're
that,
referring
Coletta?
to the doll experiment?
Yes.
The doll experiment.
Yes. It was just heartbreaking and heart-wrenching that Black children were being taught that they were less than through dolls. Anyway, we need Black dolls to teach young Black girls that we are all equal and nobody is superior or inferior. And so I am glad of that. And so, and that's another reason I want to follow too. I just want to stay informed. And
well, as you stay informed, we've got Alan here, Alan Toubeaux, that has 400 black dolls in his collection.
Well, no, they're not all black. I have a lot of dolls, but they're not all 400 of them are black dolls. But first of all, I am Alan, and I'm really so happy and proud to be here with people I know and new people, new friends, creative people. I only started collecting about 20 years ago, and it was just based on the idea that I was needing to cheer myself up, and then like a light bulb went off in my head, and my first display was 20 years ago at the library, and I remember watching children looking at the dolls. I think it was a Halloween display, and little girls were saying, I want to be like that. I want to look like that. And I just started noticing this thing that children, I think I always noticed it, but this was when I really noticed it. Children need to actualize themselves with doll play, and doll play is universal, ageless. We know that even prehistoric humans had dolls or objects for their children to play with. And I just think it's so important to have that kind of representation too. I'm the proud grandparent of a multi-racial child, and she's not exactly into the dolls. She's a little bit old for that now, but it's just wonderful to have been able to be a part of this display and to add my dolls to it. And I'm just going to show one little thing I have here. Boys need dolls too. This is a current Ken as dentist black doll, and I just picked it up. I didn't get it into the display, and of course my screen's a little wonky there, but children of all genders, all races need to have really positive images to play with.
Alan, real quick, where did you get that doll? Because I've been looking for it.
Oh, I got
sold
this.
out online.
I'm trying to remember. I think I got it at just a regular store, you know, not a Toys R Us. They're not around anymore. It might have been a Meijer,
Okay.
a Myers or something like that, Kroger. They have a toy area there, and I think I just saw it at Myers. And of course, a few years back, I also bought the action figure of President Obama, which is on display at the library. My screen kind of doesn't make it easy to see, but so check it out. There's so many great dolls there in the display, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, I've got a question for the group, so anybody can chime in here. What is your first memory of a doll?
Good question.
Or, what that stands out from childhood?
Kid's sister. I swear that jingle just resonates with me all the time. But yeah, Kid's sister. And then the Kenya doll, that I think that might have been my first doll, my first black doll, Kenya.
The first doll that I remember was Tonto and the Lone Ranger with the horse for myself. It was on a Christmas present, and my brother and I both got those dolls.
I had an Aunt Jemima doll. It was my first doll. It was black, and she had a polka dot dress, and I carried her everywhere. And I took her out in the car so she could get some wind and a breeze, and she fell out and made my dad turn around on the highway and turn back and find that doll. And I still have her now. I loved her.
Oh, that's a great story.
I mean, we can look now and say that's, Aunt Jemima's got this and that, but heck, it might have been for some white kids in a white neighborhood. It was the first black doll that they could find, because there weren't black dolls anywhere, not in the 50s. They couldn't find one anywhere.
Right.
Except
and some of
that
those
one
dolls
that my mother sent for. Pardon, Sandy?
Yeah, I said in some of those dolls back in the day were considered minstrel dolls, and you know what I'm saying, and were to play on the what we want to say. I'm trying to be politically correct, but they were in deploratory of Black characters too, So yeah.
My mom, who was a coupon collector, probably if you had so many Aunt Jemima stickers, you could get the doll. So it wasn't in any way, that was our syrup that we had in the house. So if you saved up your coupons, you could get the doll. So, but all I'd say is if you went in a store, there weren't such a thing as black dolls in a store. Not anyone I could have ever found. I wanted my mother to get me more black dolls. I wanted to live in a neighborhood with blacks, and now I do. So, anyways, Coletta, you talked about your first doll, the Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been so much fun. Carla, what was your first doll? Carla?
Oh, I don't remember my first doll, but I remember having a Barbie, and I thought that if I cut her hair would grow back. And it really did. This is a doll that I bought when my oldest daughter was, I think, 2, Next week, she'll be 31.
Wow.
This is a Topsy doll. And I know that in the exhibit, you have a Topsy doll, some information about a Topsy doll. Can anybody give me some information about the Topsy doll?
Is that the one side black and one side white?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a book about it in our doll exhibit. Oh, let's see the other side. You turn it upside down and it's,
So the dress.
oh my
shows either
gosh.
way. The dress shows either way.
Wow.
And Sandra, it
That
looks
is
like you
cool.
had something, you knew a bit about the history of this.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Historically, that came from basically slavery when those dolls were made, where when the Black child was at home with their mom or their family, they would have it on the Black side. But as soon as they were around the slave master, they would have to turn it to the white side because the white slave master didn't want to see Black children playing with Black dolls.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
The top
Okay.
doll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did the is the doll, does each doll have a name, or is it just called a Topsy doll?
That and I can't think of the company that first produced them, and but they came up with the topsy-turvy. And even if I'm saying it right, they came up with that term, but it was a company that produced them. I don't know if it was in the 60s. I don't know if it was the Shanana doll company or not, but yeah, I have to look that up again, but yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. That's a really kind of fun. Now, what about Barbie and its ability to market? They've got that the line, I don't know how old it is, but it's inspiring women dolls. And there's Rosa Parks and Maya Angelou. The most recent is Ida B. Wells. Anyone want to talk about that?
I think Barbie kind of straddled the line and evolved. I think clearly Mattel had the idea that it was a play thing. And then somewhere along the way, it became more of a collectible. And so my interests have always mostly been looking at it as collectibles and buying the more collectible models of Barbie, no matter what they are. And I think that they have done a really good job at trying to market and present other cultures of the world. And maybe to some degree, they may have been following from some of the other toy companies and doll companies that others have spoken about here, seeing that that was really perhaps the coming thing.
What's the company that makes the sort of like Barbie knockoffs, the ones that you have? Was that
yes.
Integrity Dolls?
I became aware that there was a company called Integrity Toys. I don't know much about the company, but they started a good 20 to 30 years ago, and they specifically started to manufacture fashion dolls that were pretty much a corollary to Barbie. Clothing fits, shoes fit, all those kind of essential things. But their characters were Black, and their signature character is Janae. And I have a number of those dolls. Some are in display there at the library. And then Janae had her own grouping of friends, just like Barbie has Ken or Midge. Janae had Jordan and other friends. So I think they've branched out into a more collectible market. Even from that, I think they too started with the idea of being more imaging for children and toys for children to look at and play with. But they have clearly gone into a much more collectible market. I mean, I'm seeing some dolls from these companies that cost quite a bit, over $100 or more.
What's the most you can spend on a doll? Is there like one that everybody wants, or a couple? I mean, like in the Barbie line, is there like the really great Barbie?
Well, the thing with
Barbie, one that
Barbie,
might cost you $500 or something.
That's more on the lines of reborn dolls, people who actually collect reborns, which look like babies. In 2015, that's kind of where we, I don't want to say it put us on the map, where we had over a couple thousand people to show up at the doll show, at the Detroit Doll Show that year. And it was for the people who were fascinated with the idea of seeing these reborn dolls and they've never seen them before. And they can cost anywhere from $300 to $1,500 to $2,000 because they look like real babies. And so they are also used in senior facilities for seniors who are who have Alzheimer's or not, you know, dealing with things such as that, or someone who has because I have one back here, but it's not realistic as some of the ones that are out there. But women who have lost children or empty nest syndrome, whatever the case may be, these doll collectors collect these reborns, and they're pretty expensive.
These are things I never knew much about. So you guys are really fantastic. Is there anything else you want to, we have Wanda and Lisa. Do you have anything you want to say, Wanda or Lisa?
No, thank you though.
Thank you for being part of this. Lisa. Lisa? Hello?
Well, I've got a question for Sandra. Did you grow up with black dolls? And what inspired your love of dolls?
I think what ended up happening, my mother bought me I got a Cabbage Patch later on in life, but my first doll, actually, it was a white doll. But the second one that I fell in love with, I still have her. Her name is Judy, and she's the size of the walker dolls that you used to hold their hand and they would walk. So I still have her to this day. My sister ended up perming her hair. And so, but fond memories of playing with my doll, Judy, yes.
What about, do boys play with dolls, Alan?
Yeah, I played with them a little bit. Of course, you know, sometimes we play with things that we call action figures, but they're all dolls to me. I think Tim said the same thing. The dolls he was talking about, they're like action figures. They're all dolls, they're all figures. I think I played with them when I was 5 or 6, and then I just sort of strayed away from that until more recently. Now I do play with them because sometimes I like to put on new clothing on the dolls to make them look different. So I guess that's play, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now, have you all heard of the Olmec doll factory or company? It was founded by Willa Eason. She actually created the first multicultural action figure, and it is now coming back. It's back. It's called Sunman. And yeah, but she produced a lot of dolls back in the 80s. I think it was like 83 when she established the company, because her son Menelik, and this is a doll that she created, he didn't, well, when she went out to find action figures or dolls that looked like him, she couldn't find anything. So that's why she started the line in the 80s. And it's called the Olmec. But however, Mattel just picked up her action figure, Sunman. So it's out now in stores. You can find it.
That's awesome.
Great.
I've got a question for Sherrie. I know Sherrie is a wonderful artist of the Naturally Illustrated is her brand, so look that up. Sherrie, how did the dolls and playing with those as a kid influence your art?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, representation matters, right? And I think you know, me playing with predominantly Caucasian dolls and then not really seeing them until a little bit later on in life, it really made me want to produce more more urban type stylistic illustrations. That's kind of, it's like I'm almost got engulfed into my own culture. Because again, it was a disconnect growing up, right? Because all I'm seeing are white dolls. Everything that I saw around me, when it comes down to, again, just things on labels, boxes, for the most part, you see a white face. So it was just really important for me when I was growing up, drawing, specifically when I got into college. I started drawing more, again, graffiti, like looking around my neighborhood, seeing different type of styles of graffiti that were made by people from me, along with the fact of by me being an illustrator, wanting to be like this comic artist, I started drawing more Black figures. So yeah, it was just more so just filling in that gap that I started to be more conscious as I got older to say like, okay, this is not necessarily who I am, again, the white dolls, but getting more in tune and in touch with who I am as a person and my culture and my history. So,
Great.
to answer your question.
That's really great. Maybe, Kelly, do you want to do a summary? We've kind of covered most of the issues, and I think it's truly fascinating that now I know about the slave doll with the Black side and the white side, which is truly fascinating. We've got one of the things that Coletta didn't say is she sells dolls all over the world. She even has a client in England that's bought a couple of her dolls.
Well, congratulations, Coletta. That's incredible. And I want to just thank everybody here. Your dolls are incredible. What this shows me is diversity matters. Here at the library, we believe in that. You need diverse books, but you need it beyond books. You need it in dolls. You need it in life. You have to see your own representation back at you and other people reflected in every role that there is. So it's not just you're pigeonholed into one role. Everybody can do everything, and that's how it should be. So I want to just open it up one more time to the group. Does anyone else want to say any last words?
Yes, we are planning to return the Detroit Doll Show, which celebrates history, culture, and diversity with the promotion of dolls of color. We're bringing it back November the 12th at Mary Grove College. So I cannot wait. Touch of Blue, yes, Coletta, you're gonna be there, and I hope more people come out and celebrate with us representation, because representation matters.
Great.
Carla. What was that date again?
Carla, what'd you say?
What was the date of that event?
Oh, I'm sorry, November the 12th, the second Saturday of November. We always do it the second Saturday.
All right, thank you.
Just in time to buy some for Christmas.
Exactly.
I just want to, so this is not about dolls, but since Kelly brought up that I am an illustrator, my coloring books, which is all about natural hair, Black hair care, both my children's coloring book and advanced coloring book will be sold in all Meyer stores in July.
Wow.
So just,
awesome.
Follow me on social media, Naturally Illustrated, Facebook, Instagram. So, once it's actually physically in the store, of course, I'll be, doing some PR about that. So just want to put that out there.
Congratulations.
Lay out for my book as well.
Hey.
Yeah.
Excellent. Alan, any last thoughts?
Love you all. Thanks for letting me be here with you guys. It's been great.
Thank you for all the dolls and that you've furnished for our doll exhibit. It's,
You're welcome.
what's fun for all of you is how many people I've seen stopping by, little kids that are just fascinated to see all these images and dolls that do this and dolls that do that. You guys really made a lot of people happy in the last couple months. And we've got to arrange an exit time. I've talked to Alan, but I need to arrange Coletta, Sherrie, sometimes that you might be able to come in and take your dolls home. I'm not going to miss them, but if like several of them are missing, we won't say who did it, right? Just kidding, please.
Yeah.
I pray that nothing does. The good thing about our exhibit is we do have locks on everything.
Yeah.
So someone can't just take home a souvenir. But I sure love them. I've been making a point every day of coming down and saying hi to them. Your pink doll, Coletta, I love her with her little pink tutu.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Good. What's her name? Does she have a name?
I actually don't name my dolls. That's kind of the recipient's job. I make them, I give them a hug and send them on their way, but I don't name my dolls.
Oh, good. And your dolls, Sherrie, already come with names. You have them in the box with the name. My favorite is the one with the poof, the pigtails with the poofs. What's her
Ooh.
name? The hairdresser.
I can't remember. I'm trying to remember which dolls I gave you. I don't know. I mean, because they're all, I collect only, there's some Barbies that are not Mattel, but I purposely collect Barbie dolls because that's what I had growing up. So, but there are, like I said, there are some Barbies that I have, or some dolls that are not Mattel, but I know that I gave you guys all Mattel dolls. So whatever it says on that label, that's what she is.
Thank you. Would you suggest anything if we did this again, anything we should be doing differently?
I would say having a doll historian on, and I know a couple, would be nice.
Great.
Debbie Garrett is she's a doll expert and she's a doll enthusiast, and she has a couple of books out. Mila Perkins, if you can get Mila Perkins, she actually is the writer of Black Dolls, and she has 2 books out, and she was one of the founding members of Motor City Doll Club, which was one of the first doll clubs established in the city of Detroit.
Wow.
Her and Dr. Margaret Betts. So yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Once again, Black Dolls Matter is on display through the end of the month here at the Southfield Public Library. Come on out, view it. We'll send everybody the link. We'll be posting this up on YouTube either late tonight still or tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been a great fun tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the gathering.
Take good care, everyone. And next time I'll know how to use the camera properly on this little computer of mine, so you aren't seeing just junk on my desk. Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
You're all wonderful. Just wonderful.